Welcome to Behind the Debut, a podcast to shine a light on first-time authors and their journeys to publication. I'm your host, Michelle Reeves, a traditionally and self-published author myself, and in each episode we'll dive into the experiences of debut writers, how they got started, the challenges they faced, and what it really takes to bring a first book into the world. While most podcast airtime is reserved for best-selling authors, this is a space for new voices, authors who might not otherwise have the chance to share their story. In today's episode, I'm delighted to welcome a fellow Notion ambassador, Bronek Carr, who is the author of Master Notion, a practical roadmap to transforming my favourite productivity app, Notion, from a simple note-taking tool into a powerful, personal and professional workspace. Bronek, thanks so much for coming on the show today. Can you kick us off by introducing yourself and tell us a bit about your first book and what inspired you to write it?
Hi, I'm Bronek Carr. I'm from Southport, the northwest of England. I now live in Thames Ditton, which is just on the outskirts of London, near Hampton Court Palace. I'm a dad of two, a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. And as a job, I'm a management consultant, mainly a program manager by trade for its clients. As hobbies, I'm a bit of a productivity geek, which will come across in the book I'm about to talk about. I'll try anything, whether it's my bullet journal, Pomodoro method, or getting things done. I like trying it all, including all the types of apps. When it comes to my book, I've written a book called Master Notion, Break the Cycle, Creating Your Own Productivity Tools. Essentially, it's a step-by-step guide, lots of images to help for those who want to learn Notion, but it also covers a lot of productivity techniques as well alongside that. So in the book, you build things like a full to-do and project system, but also a recipe repertoire and also a travel planner as well, and other things like that. It's mainly aimed at people who want to learn Notion, but also those who know Notion could get some extra skills from it as well. From an inspiration perspective, I started out just wanting to learn more about Notion itself and defining what I do. So I started writing it down, not for anyone in particular, more for myself. And then as it started shaping up, I realised this could actually be turned into a book. And I did so, to my own surprise.
I love that you created something for yourself and then decided to share it with the world. It's the best way to write a book, I think. Tell us a bit about how you planned the book out. Did you plan it extensively, or are you a bit more of a pantser when it comes to writing?
So I originally set out with it not being a book, but when I started to create enough content, I realised this could be a book and let's just do it and see where it goes. And at that point, I really did it became a plan. I thought about what did I want to create with it? How would I section up the chapters and how would I section up the parts of the book, and then started managing it like a project. So estimating how many half hours I needed to spend on the book and tracking how I did on that. I massively underestimated the amount of effort, but got there in the end. But it was very structured and planned from the point in time I realised I was going to turn it into a book.
Yeah, that sounds like super detailed planning, as you would expect from a productivity expert, I guess. And I'm with you. We do often underestimate how much time it takes to write things. Sometimes it's actually the editing process. I personally find the editing process takes way longer than I think it will. Um, okay, tell us a bit about the biggest challenge you faced during the writing process and how you overcame it.
The biggest challenge when writing the book was two, really. One is time. I carved out evenings, half an hour each evening, maybe an hour after the kids went to bed, just to progress on the book. A little bit more at weekends, but it did take a long time to write my book, way over a year doing it in that way, which meant a lot of repetition and getting your head into it each time. The other problem was actually tooling. I started off writing the book in Microsoft Word. Whilst I've used that lots for work, it was horrendous for writing the book. I then actually switched to using Notion itself to write the book, and that was much better. But then I had lots of issues when I had to migrate it back to Word to publish the book. I would not use Microsoft Word again. Massive fan of Microsoft products, but not in this case.
Oh, yes, I'm definitely with you on Microsoft Word. I am not a fan. In fact, I'm not really a fan of many Microsoft products, I have to say. Um, I know that you and I both love Notion, and as you know, I plan out all my books in Notion. I actually write them in Atticus because that allows me to format them directly in the Atticus app. But yeah, definitely using Notion for planning was a big step forward for me as well. So we're on the same page there. How long did it actually take you to write the first draft? And how did you stay motivated along the way? Because that can be a challenge sometimes.
It it took, as I mentioned in the previous, a long time to do the first draft of my book, at least a year. I forget how long. The biggest problem I had actually, though, whilst that took a long time, I'd say the book was ready 3 months before I actually released it. There was a lot of nervousness on completing finishing it, making sure it's in good quality, and a lot of hesitancy, if I'm being honest, on publishing the book. A lot of denial and not seeing myself as an author. But once I made the decision I was going to do it, so I just fought through it and just kept on doing everything needed to get that book live, and it is now live.
And huge congrats for that, because those mindset issues are real. And, even after publishing a couple of books, I still feel that way. I'm on my, what is it, my fourth book coming up, and I still worry about pressing publish. So I'm not sure those mindset issues ever really go away, but huge congrats on getting your debut book out there. What role did feedback play in shaping the book? Did you have any feedback, and how did you approach editing and revising it?
One thing, it's a bit of a regret, really. I didn't get much feedback on my book. I didn't ask for much feedback on my book. It was a personal project, as I said, originally never to be released. And then when I did start thinking I'm going to release it, of course, I reviewed the book. I got feedback from a review perspective from my wife. In hindsight, I wish I'd sent it out to more people to review to get more feedback on it. The good news is I've had positive feedback since it's been released, from reviews, etc. So I've obviously hit the mark a little bit. I do plan on doing a full re-review of the book and seeing if I'd tweak it and change it. But also, because it's based on a piece of software and approaches, that software's also improved since I released the book. So there might be extra bits I'll add in as well.
Yeah, I think that feedback piece is one of the hard things for indie authors, because we might not necessarily have the network to ask for that feedback, particularly if we don't have or can't afford a professional editor, as a lot of indie authors can't. I think, that's where we can maybe reach out and help each other. I know that I do quite a lot of ARC reading for indie authors and really try and give as much feedback as possible when I do that. But yeah, it's an issue for indie authors for sure. Did you have any surprising discoveries about yourself during the journey to getting the book out there?
The biggest surprise and discovery about myself writing the book, and it may sound cheesy, is the fact that I do now qualify myself as an author.
Yay!
And you can probably hear by how I'm saying that I still struggle in saying it, but
Mm.
I've written a book, people are buying the book, people seem to like the book. So, and I've got other ideas for more books. So I I'm surprised by the fact that I can actually describe myself as an author now. And that brings a smile to my face. Yeah, I'm made up.
Yes, and rightly so. I read a stat a while back that the odds of being traditionally published are only 1 to 2%. And even with self publishing, out of 1,000 people who begin writing a book, only 30 go on to finish writing it. And then only 6 out of those go on to see their book being published. So you're in a significant minority, and that's definitely something to be proud of. Let's talk a bit about marketing. How do you feel about promoting your book?
Promoting the book has been something I have massively enjoyed and equally absolutely hated. So I self-published my book on Amazon, on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. So I've got to self-publish my book. I have built a website for blogs and articles that wraps around the same content as the book. And I've created social media profiles around the website, but that also pushes the book forward too. And I've loved doing it, and I've loved creating content. It does add a lot of stress of I'm always thinking now, what can I post and what can I do? And I've become that person. But the thing I hate about it, A, is I've become that person, but also I've not had much traction, being honest. Not many people are engaging my social media posts, and that I'm finding really frustrating because I'm not getting the feedback. So whilst I'm enjoying writing the pieces, I'm not enjoying seeing no traction from it. It's an absolute grind. I'm going to continue doing it, but it would be nice to see some benefits from the effort I'm putting in. Although, having said that, since I started doing the social media posts, the website, etc., the book sales have gone up, so there may be a relation to that.
Well, it sounds like it is working, to be honest, but we'll have to get you onto Substack, Bronek, because I'm sure you'll have an audience for those kind of posts over on Substack. Their productivity seems to be one of the areas that people are reading and writing about. So I'll have to see if we can get you on there. Let's talk about your writing routine. And you have, obviously you've got one book out there. How do you approach your writing now?
So I've mentioned this in previous answers, but it's worth highlighting. My writing routine became half an hour or an hour every night after the kids went to bed, to the point where it was just booked in. I had approval in inverted commas from my wife to do so. In fact, she started doing stuff during that same time, and it was just little steps forward each day. Now, the negatives of that is you're having to get yourself in the zone, and sometimes you're rewriting bits or trying to work out what you're going to do that day. But it worked. It was the best way I could carve out time to write a book with being a dad, being a husband, and being full-time employed. And I'm still doing that now, just with other pieces like writing articles and promoting the book.
Yeah, that's actually super smart, as you've already carved out that bit of time for yourself to keep that in the calendar and use it for the marketing and promoting now. If you could go back and give your pre-published self one piece of advice, what would it be? I love asking this question.
If I could go back to myself and give myself one piece of advice before starting the book, I'd be cheeky and do two. One, you will be publishing this book. And I think if I'd told myself that at the beginning, I would have gone a lot faster and probably higher quality at the beginning. So I'm not saying the quality at the end was bad, but the quality at the beginning was, it's for me. I'm not going to publish it, therefore I'm not going to do it. And then the other one is tooling. I would have got a much better piece of software to write the book in, so that I wouldn't be wasting so much time transferring it from product to product and dealing with headers and footers and images and all sorts of other things that was just wasted time. But yeah, the main message I go back to myself is you're going to do this and it's going to be released. And I think that would have massively motivated me.
Oh yeah, that's a really lovely message to tell your pre-published self, and something we can probably all do with reminding ourselves, to be honest. What's next for you then as an author, Bronek? Are you working on something new, a new book, or are there any other opportunities that opened up from your current book?
I do think I'm going to publish at least one more book. Maybe two, maybe more. I've got a notion for enterprise, very niche subject, but I think it would be taken well, and it goes to my background as a job that I've started writing. I've also got a kids book I'd like to try. I know that's cliche, but I made up a story of my son as he grew up, and I'd like to get that down pen on paper and see if that gets any traction. I would love to write a proper fiction novel, but I have no ideas for that. I enjoy reading those books. I don't think I'll be able to do that, but who knows? Writing this book alone has created lots of opportunities, so never say never.
Never say never, indeed. I love that you are thinking about writing a children's book, though. Obviously, it's something that's important to me, having written 2 middle grade books and another one coming out. But I think all of us have got a story in there somewhere. So I can't wait to see that. Okay, thank you so much for being on the show today, Bronek. It's been a blast. And where can people find you and your debut book?
Well, firstly, the book is on Amazon. Again, the title is Master Notion, Break the Cycle by Creating Your Own Productivity Tools by Bronek Carr. It's on Kindle, it's on Kindle Unlimited, and it's available globally on Amazon itself. For me, I've got a website called breakingrocks.net where I'm writing all of my articles and releasing templates soon. And then socials-wise, the best one is on Instagram, following Master Breaking Rocks. I would really appreciate a follow. As I said, I'm struggling to get traction there. And more importantly, I'd really appreciate any feedback as well on what I post and what I'm doing, because in the end, I did this to learn and to teach others. And if I'm not getting feedback, I can't do that. Thank you, Michelle, for giving me this opportunity, and hopefully it's helpful for others as well listening to this. Thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome, and thanks again for being on the show today. That's it for this episode of Behind the Debut. A huge thank you to Bronek for sharing his journey with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please do consider subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing it with a fellow book lover. It really does help new authors to get discovered. You can find out more about today's guest, including where to buy their book, in the show notes. And if you're a debut author yourself and would like to be featured, email me at michelle@michellereeveswrites.com for more details. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep writing, keep dreaming, and keep turning the page on your own story.